Hey guys, it's me Avi Devedi, and you are listening on Extended Reality Developers of India community. This is India's biggest XR community. If you don't know about XR is augmented reality and virtual reality. But today we are going to have this session which is more related to business and process management. Process management is something which is really close to my heart. It's something which I wanted to cover for a really long time. And to cover this, Arpita Arpita is going to help me covering this particular topic. So Arpita is going to talk about everything about process management, and she's a strategy manager at Daffodil. She is going to guide you about a lot of things like what is a process, personality versus process driven businesses, what are the differences between those, and there are going to be plenty of talk. The one I'm most interested in, she's also going to talk about if you have a business, how to turn it into autopilot mode. So there are plenty of things to come, and I'm really excited about this session. So without any further delay, let's have Arpita with us. So Arpita, now you are totally live, and we can totally start this session with you. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Avi. Thanks a lot. Hi, everyone. I can see many of you have joined in. So, I'm Arpita Kapoor. I am the speaker for today, and we all are here to discuss on the subject the importance of processes in an organization, and do we really need the processes? Thanks, Avi, for allowing me to, have this opportunity to address the audience here. And let me first tell you all that, Avi is one of the most dynamic and optimistic individuals I have met. And you guys are like part of his community, XRDI, which is like one of its kind. So, congratulations for having landed here first. And to start off, I would like to, give you a brief about myself. So I am Arpita Kapoor, working as a strategy manager with Daffodil Software. And before this, I was working with TCS for a good number of years. And here over in TCS, I wore multiple hats. I started off as a developer, like many of you are right now. Then I worked as a product manager for some time. I moved to strategic research team and eventually to business development and accounts growth roles as well. So I think I've spoken a lot about myself. Now I would like to hear something about the audience here and your background, because I already kind of interacted with a few of them, but I think many others joined later on. So if any of you would like to kind of give your background, your introduction, that are you in college, are you straight out of college, are you working, is this your first job, are you anyway into how did you chance upon XRDI, and are you related to augmented reality in some way? Did you ever form any kind of model project or something like that?
Hello, ma'am. Very good evening to you.
Good
Uh,
evening.
yes, ma'am. Like we all are the students here, I hope. And specifically about me, I'm a student. I'm pursuing my computer science and engineering. Uh, and we all are like the part of this community, XRDI. And the interesting thing is that we all are aware, like learning the technology stuff but in terms of management, in terms of business, in terms of marketing, we are acquiring knowledge, but we do not have a practical experience how to execute it. So like in the today's session, like we are hoping to just get the answer of hoping to just get the answer of all those questions, like how to execute the marketing on the practical level. So we are aiming to be there, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. So anyone else who would like to kind of, you know, can you guys switch on your videos for a while? Maybe I'll take a vote quickly. Then I think that's going to be more helpful if it's possible for you. Otherwise, I think I'll just dive into the session. Okay, I think let's not lose out on the time, and I'll quickly share my screen. And yeah, So, okay. Okay, can you guys see my screen, and is it visible in slideshow mode?
Yes, ma'am.
Is
It's,
it
Yes,
visible in
ma'am.
the slideshow mode?
it's yeah, it's clear.
Okay, okay, great, fine. So I think then we are all good to go, right? And okay. Great. Thanks a lot, Avi. Thanks. So yeah, let's delve into this. So firstly, I would like to, like you to glance as to what is the agenda for today. So what I plan to do is first I want to introduce. So we had a round of introduction already, and now next I want to introduce the topic to you. That what exactly do you mean by process, and do we really need it? Okay, then I think I would not miss out on this part that you guys are fresh out of college and you are already working somewhere. But I think somewhere at the back of the mind, you will have that aim of someday starting something by yourself, or maybe reaching a key position in an organization. So, for in either of the cases, actually, it's important to have some understanding about businesses, and hence I have covered this topic of understanding that what are the types of businesses, people oriented versus process oriented, because that's where you will understand that do we really need a process in the organization. Apart from that, we will also understand the role of an SOP. So I think you won't understand that right now. Once we cover it, you will get an understanding. Not just talking about processes, I will also give you a framework and a stepwise guideline on how to set up the processes. Apart from that, I will also cover a few common challenges which occur in setting up of processes, and how can you actually build a completely system driven business, and then how can you also move your business to an autopilot mode. Finally, we'll end with a few key takeaways and some food for thought. Okay, so is everyone with me so far?
Yeah, totally. I'm with you.
Okay. So, guys, this will be an interactive session. We want to have an interactive session, so I would request you all to, interact as much as possible, because I don't want you guys to go off to sleep. That's not my aim. If you ever feel that way, that it's getting monotonous, please speak up, and we can, have ways of making it more interesting. Okay, so I'll just quickly jump on. This was just about me. So, yeah, now where are we? We start off with the introduction part. So, yeah, what exactly is process and what are the characteristics of process? So, as per ITIL is a certification, if I'm not wrong. So, what set of activities which are actually designed to achieve a certain objective is what is process. So, I think this is too bookish for me, and I'm sure it's too bookish for you as well. So let us just get into our daily life. Okay, let's see about process in our daily life. We wake up, we get ready, we jump into our car, we go to office. So consciously or unconsciously, we do follow a process, and it brings some order and discipline to our lives, right? And if I have a goal, say I want to play a song on guitar, and I'm a novice, I don't even know how to hold a guitar, and yet I have this aim that by 2021, the new year party, I want to play guitar in front of a good number of people, and in front of as the audience. So I have to kind of break down this goal into smaller steps. So what can be the first? I need to list out what will be the steps in order to achieve this goal. Now, what can be the steps here? I can ask for, as a first step, I'll go and ask my friend that what are the good guitars available? What would you suggest for a beginner like me? I'll then look for some online or maybe physical training in my neighborhood, and I would also try to see if it's affordable for me. I will also check on the time frame which I need to train myself so that I am trained well enough to perform on the New Year's Eve. I know the time frame available with me. Maybe as a first step, I'll buy a ukulele. You might have seen it. It's a smaller version of a guitar, and that will be to just get a feel and practice my lessons. So I need to gauge how many hours of practice I will need and how many can I put in. Accordingly, I will then confirm to the club that yes, I will be able to perform for the audience that I had planned to. So I'm kind of then going to perfect myself by first performing in front of maybe a smaller audience of my own friends. So I know this was too long, but I was just listing out the processes involved in this kind of an everyday activity as well. So it's just to convey to you that yes, we are following processes in our everyday life. In fact, process is just like what discipline is in our lives. Processes to any kind of an organization. So but what is the major differentiating fact about process from any sort of ad hoc requirements or ad hoc activity is that processes are very planned. Okay, so when I say planned, so you know what kind of inputs will be needed and what is the expected ultimate output. The processes can also be measured, and the primary aim is that whatever is the outcome of following a process, you should be able to deliver something good to the customers or to the primary stakeholders. So the entire aim behind framing a process is to be able to deliver a good quality product in a timely fashion to the end customer. Okay, and also we define there when we are in this journey of making or building something for our customers, our stakeholders, we might encounter few unplanned events, and they may be turning our processes I mean turning our planning to the negative. So in this case, we also plan out processes which can handle these kind of unforeseen situations and what can we do in those cases. So, yeah, going for some reason. Yeah. I think this was, a brief about what exactly a process is. Now, I'll just quickly want you to see this slide. Okay. What can you guys see on this slide? Yeah. Anyone? Remember, guys, I want the session to be interactive, so please respond. So, yeah.
Yeah, you pick it from Shutterstock.
Yeah, but what can you see about the images?
think the chart going up and people on vacation, passive income.
Right. So not really passive income, but yeah. Okay. So, how many of you love to travel, and how often do you love to travel?
It's a sad question in 2020.
No, I think everybody love travel, especially because it's 2020 and everybody is traveling.
Exactly. Everybody's probably yearning to go on a New Year vacation. So yeah. So anyway, so I'm sure you would definitely love to be in these surroundings on a hike and every few days. And trust me, if you go on a trek like a Mansarovar trek or an Everest base camp trek, those treks do not cannot be covered within 2 3 days time. They require a good 15 20 days of time period. So just plan out, you need 15 20 days of leaves. Will your boss ever want to give you that? So yeah, just kidding. And then you can see this beach holiday. So just imagine yourself, sipping a glass of wine, loved ones on the beach, and while you are on hikes and on the beach, your profits are rising. So is it possible to have that? Do you think I'm taking you to a strawberry world and it's just not possible? It's just an imagination, or do you think it's possible?
Yeah, it's not impossible. It's possible if we have a good team who can work. Means if I was there in that place, how would I do that work? They will work in that same way. Then it can surely work. If I have a good productive team who can work in the absence of myself.
Exactly. So yeah, you are very close to what I was trying to say. So people say that you cannot have the best of both the worlds, but the truth is that we can have it, and this is where the setting up of processes in an organization sets in, and the importance of setting up processes in an organization sets in. You will be on a vacation while your team will actually be executing the entire stuff for you without any compromise on the quality or the timeline of delivery, if you have the proper processes in place and the people workforce trained in those processes. Okay, so yeah, let's move on to the next part, which is people oriented versus process oriented businesses. So we all have that chai wala in front of our colleges and our offices, whom and we have that one specific chai wala to whom we want to flock to have the tea. And why can't we actually want to go to some other chai wala when we know that it's a very common thing to have? Everybody can make it, but no, बाबूलाल चाय वाला के चाय में कुछ तो बात है. Even if it is a roadside shop, I mean, वो एक मस्त वाली इलायची की चाय बनाता है जिसमें the proportions are right and we just want to have that. So what happens here now? बाबू लाल चाय वाला अगर है so we go and have it. But what if Babu Lal Chaiwala goes on a vacation, or if he is ill? Then what happens then? Then even if he has assigned everything to his son and he has taught everything to his son, somehow his son does not is not able to bring that taste in the tea, and we flock to some other shop, and Babu Lal Chaiwala loses out on his revenue. On the other hand, what happens in a process oriented organization? You have been to McD's and KFC's and Pizza Huts. So any branch in any city, and at any point of time in the year, whenever you go, you are never really bothered about who is making the stuff for you. You don't even care who is there behind the kitchen and stuff like that. So and trust me, do you even know these people? Anyone?
No, we
No
don't.
idea. No.
None of you? Okay, so let me tell you, this person is Chris, and he is. I'm sorry, I just on the slide. Yeah. So the first photo, as you can see, is that of Chris, and he is the current CEO of McD. Then the second photo, which you can see, this one, he is Richard. He is the CEO of Domino's. Okay. Then the third photo, which you can see, is that of Roger Eaton. He is the CEO of KFC. And the last one that you can see is John, and he is the CEO of Subway. It's very surprising. We go here day in, day out, and we get good quality stuff, but these people are nowhere to be seen. We don't even recognize them. So, what can be the reason behind that? Are they all on a permanent beach vacation? Is it? So, Okay, so what I was trying to convey is that these people have actually made their businesses process oriented, and due to this, it's not a personality dependent business. You don't actually depend on the presence of one person in order to get things executed and get the stuff of your choice and your preference, your quality, and this is what should be the aim of a person who is leading an organization or is the founder of an organization or is has been appointed for the purpose of setting up the processes in an organization. So we need to be just like them. So they are the ones who are setting up a good example. Another thing here is that suppose Babulal Chaiwala wants to set up a tea shop in another part of the city, and so do you think he will get a good number of people visiting that shop as well? Now Babulal cannot be present at two shops at the same time, so the chances are that he might be able to provide good quality at one location but not so good quality at the other location, and hence the revenues will not be as per the expectations. So here again you can see that how a personality oriented business has difficulties in expansion as well, right? So yeah, we have chains like CCD, Starbucks, McD's, Pizza Huts. You go to any subsidiary, you are sure to get the same quality, same quantity at the same price and as per your expectations. And this is what we all should aim for from our businesses. So I'll quickly move on to this slide. Okay. Okay. Just give me a second. Okay. So what exactly is SOP? SOP stands for a standard operating procedure. So have you guys ever heard of this word before?
Now,
Nobody has heard of it?
Yes, ma'am. This year, like in COVID times, this term has been like highly used.
Yeah. So, okay. Just whenever you are part of any organization, if you are being asked for suggestions that, what can I do to improve my processes or what can I do to establish processes in the very first place or make my business process oriented instead of just personality oriented one, trust me, swear on yourself and bring every department of that business on SOP. Okay, so ये SOP किस चिड़िया का नाम है? Okay, so I know that many of you have not heard of it. So I'll just we just read that at the start that the processes is a combination of activities which are performed to complete a certain task or to achieve a certain goal. So SOP is the same, just that you standardize the steps and you allow no deviation at all. So you have already broken down the task into steps and your end goal into steps. Now what you do is you kind of standardize those steps. So your suppose your goal is to make your own glass of devil's own coffee of CCD standards. So it is mandatory for you to follow a certain set of well written instructions and a sequence of steps. So if I am in the department responsible, say I work in CCD and I work with CCD, and if I'm responsible, I'm present in the department which is responsible for the purchase of ingredients, I will have a set of steps to follow too. So how many times have you seen people pointing out fingers to the CCD person or the McD person that that the coffee or that burger is not good, or it needed more coffee beans, or it needed more whipped cream? There are instances, but then those are really, really few. So why is it that these companies are able to avoid these kind of situations? It's because they have very well written SOPs in place where anyone at any time, whoever is working, is just presented with that SOP during their training sessions. They know that in the process of making a glass of Devil's Own coffee, what are the ingredients to be used in how much quantity and in which sequence, and then they just follow those instructions and are ending up to making the exactly same kind of stuff every time. That's how they actually are able to ensure the standard quality everywhere. Okay. Uh, okay. So now I'll quickly talk about what are the possible benefits of an SOP. So to start off, if you want to scale up your business, okay, what you, as I said, have different departments in an organization. There will be a technical department, a procurement department, a production department, a marketing and sales division, an HR division, etc. Now, tasks for each department are different. Okay. You cannot be a Harfan Mola who knows it all. Okay. You cannot know all the tasks by yourself. So you will have to connect with experts for each department who will understand your business, your goals, and your requirements. Now, they will help you set up a framework or a set of processes for each of the individual departments. Okay. Now, as this is documented, say I'm a business. I wish to open a new branch in say Rajasthan, so I can just prepare a manual at my end sitting in Delhi, and I'll make an SOP. I'll set up few processes at my end, and I'll document them down in a manual. I'll send that manual to the various locations where I want to branch up. And I don't have to be physically present all the time. I will obviously make a visit or two, but I don't have to be staying there all the time. And I'll just ensure that all those who have been appointed in those locations follow the set of instructions in my manual and implement the same. And this is how I will kind of go ahead with expanding my business in different locations. So this is actually without an SOP, without a process in place, you just cannot think of expanding your business to multiple locations. Because trust me, as a brand, if you lose out your brand value at even one of the locations due to lower than the optimum quality, your brand gets destroyed. Understand that this is the kind of planning and process implementation that is required over here. Okay, next I'll just come to this, that if an SOP helps us to gain efficiency and helps us to maintain good quality, optimum quality. So in order to have fast expansion, better efficiency with an improved speed, and to ensure standard quality and the same kind of quality every time, we definitely will need a standard set of procedures which have been documented. The other thing is, suppose you want same kind of item produced every time, right? If it's belonging to the same brand, it should look exactly alike, right? So this is something which can be ensured only once we have an SOP in place. Yeah. Also, since you know that multiple teams are involved and there are multiple players with different skill sets involved in kind of making something end to end. So any sort of miscommunication can actually lead to disasters and compromise on the quality of the end product. So an SOP is available with every team. So every team has read it and have been trained on the same. So this helps in eliminating, any sort of failures due to miscommunication, and it kind of reduces the chances of miscommunication as well. Okay, fine. So I'll quickly come to what do you want to think of when you are making an SOP, and what are the things which should be there when you are drafting an SOP. Okay, so trust me, the pic might look too jazzy, but then it's very basic, something which you can actually figure out using your common sense as well. So as the head or owner of an organization, what is the first thing that you will have to do is to set up an SOP for every department, right? So in order to do that, first thing you need to do is you set up an SOP regarding how SOPs have to be made for every department, because for all the departments you need to ensure that the SOP should cover the heads of details, the requisite categories in every case. So first you need to have an SOP regarding how the SOPs have to be drafted. Okay, coming to the department level. Okay, so say you want to set up an SOP for your marketing department, one for your operations, one for your sales, and one for your say HR department. Now understand the purpose of that particular department, and understand the goal as well as the of that particular department for which the SOP is being drafted. Okay, now then you must understand that who will be the readers of that SOP, what is their knowledge and skill set level, and your SOP will be tailored and customized to a language which those people can actually understand. Okay, your SOP will have to be in a style which those people should be able to read and understand. So you have to keep your target audience in mind as well. You have to also consider, that whether the steps of achieving a certain goal, which are contained in that SOP, will they be drafted, in the form of text, or will they be drafted in the form of some diagrams and flowcharts, etc. Okay, then you need to also decide that who will be actually reviewing your SOP. You need few subject matter experts related to your department will be actually reviewing your SOP. Say you are preparing an SOP for the marketing department. So you need to have hold of subject matter expert who has been involved in lead generations, who has been involved in organizing campaigns and product launches, as well as in branding and advertising. So someone who has the experience of all these topics will actually be able to guide you well whether your SOP is a good enough draft and is covering all the processes required for that specific department. Okay, you also need to think of a distribution plan of your SOP, that how do you plan to make this information reach to the requisite people. Okay, because considering maybe that the business might be spread across various locations. Okay, also you need to understand and convey that how time critical are things in that specific department. Okay, fine. So yeah, and then obviously these are few questions which need to be covered in as part of the SOP. That how often do you do the task, or which are contained in that specific SOP, and ask these questions. That so that how difficult is it to do and how critical is it. So only those processes which those tasks which are difficult, which are critical and have to be performed repeatedly, or if performed incorrectly can result in havoc and a good amount of loss, I would say. Those definitely are a priority for you, so that you can actually an SOP around that. So I'll discuss this in detail later on. I know it's kind of a little confusing as of now to understand from here. So I'll kind of explain this to you even after this. So coming to types of SOP. Okay? In what stage do you want to make an SOP? So we need not have an SOP at the start of formulation of a strategy or a goal. Okay, we may be a business owner, or I may be a key decision maker at an organization, and I have the strategy in my head. Okay, I can frame it well. I don't need SOP for that. Okay, what I need is that once I have framed what to do in my mind, and I know that these are the steps to be taken in order to do and achieve this goal, I need to get those executed. Okay, and I need people for that. I cannot do it by myself, and hence we over here need to share our expectations with the others involved. Okay, and we need to kind of match our expectations and the tasks to be done to the various roles and the skill sets which are there at our disposal, and then we can share it with them to get things executed. So we need to have few execution frameworks, and we need to prepare SOPs around those execution frameworks. And this is how we can actually reach a stage when our business will be in, the auto run mode also one day. Okay, so what are the types of SOPs? You can already see over here the various operational, analytic, administrative, complaint management. So I think these are. Do I need to elaborate on these, or I the names themselves are self-explanatory? What is your opinion?
I think names are explanatory.
Right, right. Yeah. So basically, these are all falling under the execution SOPs, and they are specific to the various departments for which I want to frame an SOP. Okay. Now, what are the advantages of an SOP? As I already mentioned, that if you want to bring your company to the automation mode, so that you, even in your absence, the business runs automatically, the company or the department runs automatically to achieve their goals. You first need to identify what are the tasks which are repetitive in nature. Okay, you need to identify the most frequently performed activities. So say, identify those and list them out, and keep the strategy to yourself, and start drafting SOPs around the rest. Okay, the execution part. Now these SOPs will also help you in better performance management as well. So I'll discuss that also with you now. How do they help performance management and knowledge loss risk? So if you have firstly identified the repetitive tasks and the most frequently done activities, then it is better that you get them on paper. And how this helps is that, suppose you want to kind of assess that how are your employees performing, how are your colleagues performing. So you can actually decide what is their skill set. Accordingly, you can set few parameters which are actually few goals or few metrics which they are supposed to achieve, and accordingly you can set few judgment parameters for them. So suppose someone is in the sales department, and you want to see how many closures he made this year, and what was the amount of revenue that he made, how many good testimonials was he able to get, and how many feedbacks was he able to get. So these are few metrics on the basis of which you can judge a salesperson. And so these are the metrics which you have set for that person, and they are well defined, and you have a count against all of them at the end of the year. And this is how you can judge that person very easily. It will be a black and white judgment. He cannot question you, you cannot question him. You can easily identify who are the high performers, the low performers, and the no performers as well. And another big advantage is actually that the knowledge loss, the risk of knowledge loss. Okay, now if suppose you are handling a hotel and a restaurant, I may say, and if your star cook leaves, okay, so I cannot make many of the dishes which were proprietary under my restaurant's name. So you see chef's special paneer at many of the restaurants, and this will remain something which cannot be made again if that chef leaves without notice. So the knowledge lies in his brain, and business again becomes personality dependent over here, as we had discussed about Babulal Chaiwala. So what we should be doing is that we can document that recipe and the steps, as regarding how that person was making that specific food item. And in this way, if a star performer leaves, it will not scare you. Otherwise, you will always remain under the threat that, okay, my star performer might leave, he might join a competition, or he might himself become a competition. So this will obviously reduce my negotiation power all the time. Okay, so yeah. So this is briefly about what are the benefits. So I have just elaborated over here in this screen, and as I said, that don't let it become personality dependent. Just get things documented in a proper format so that one person leaves, the other person can come, he can read the manual, he can quickly get things on his tips, he can be trained, he can be assessed on the basis of that manual, and then we can actually put him to work, and that will actually reduce our company's cost for training. It will reduce the time to onboard someone, and it will actually help a person to become productive in a very short while. Okay, so this is one template. I mean, you can find many of them on the internet, but then this is one of them which I wanted to share with you. So yeah, this is the SOP template, and as you can see, it contains the purpose, that why are you drafting this SOP, the scope, what all does it cover, who will be responsible for what, and yeah, blah blah blah. So I'll quickly move on to the next part. Are you guys there with me, or are you guys off to sleep?
We're here.
Yeah, we are listening.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the steps to setting up a process. Okay, so anything which you guys already think should be the steps for setting up a process. What all do you think should we think of when we are setting up a process? Yeah, anyone?
To find someone who can take care of that process individually.
So, in my case, I usually take any process similarly to how I code. I learned everything about processes from my experience with coding. So, for example, if in programming, if you have any difficult task, we usually break down that particular task in several smaller tasks. So similarly, if I have a problem, I have to first dissect it in very similar section as you have mentioned, like what is the scope of the problem, who I'm targeting towards, and who I want to convey my message, who I'm writing this manual for, all this sort of process or this sort of steps. So based on that, I also understand the process and understand these problems.
Okay, great. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. And on this note, let's get into the processes. So unless you know what you want to achieve and what the problem is, you are actually nowhere. Okay, and as you rightly stated, that you need to know that what exactly is the it that you want to achieve. If you are an ardent trek lover and you are kind of walking constantly with no peaks to conquer, then that's not motivating enough. So identify the problem which you think you will need a process around in order to be resolved. Now there can be numerous problems, okay, in your personal life and in your organization as well. So we have problems in our professional life, our love life, financial matters, health, blah blah. So same is the case for organizations. Okay, numerous problems exist. So if we start looking at them, they are like everywhere. Okay, so how to decide that which of these actually need a process around them, and not all of them will need one. Okay, suppose you end up fracturing your arm and you aim to recover, and if recovering is your aim and you are following few steps or a regime for it, you definitely don't want to document this kind of a procedure. Nobody would want to read that sort of a document, right? Okay, so jokes apart, what I mean is that in order to pick the problems, which need a process around it, the problems should have these specific characteristics. Okay, so frequent crisis, a few tasks need to be performed every week, every month, or every day. So say for example, invoicing, revenue reports, etc. Okay, so it will be good to have processes around the same. Okay, second is quality. If you understand that if the quality kind of fluctuates very often, then अगर CCD में 8 out of 10 times you get excess sugar in your coffee, you will keep asking the person to replace your coffee and company का तो band बच जाएगा. So understand that what are the things which are dependent on quality, and what are the processes which are very influential in making the quality, and you definitely need processes around the same. Okay, then the next is productivity, outcome, calculation, accounting, and sales. So, all your tasks and your problems around these specific things are actually very, very important, and hence they definitely need a process around the same. Okay, now what you can do is, as a step, is that once you list out the problems under these having these specific characteristics, write out the problems for every department, and around that you set the goal to be achieved by every department. Now once you have the problem to be solved in hand, you know what is the goal that you want to achieve. Okay, so once these are identified, then we can move in that direction, right? So now you list out the steps which you think so now I mean, you don't list out the steps, obviously you have a team for that. So you can give your team a direction now, that okay, this is my problem in hand and this is what I want to achieve. So this gives the team a direction. Okay, and now from direction to decision, to the point where they can take a decision at their level. We can help them define few a set of processes. Okay, so you can actually give your team a direction so that they can follow few well defined set of processes to take decisions at their level by so this is how your direction can actually help. So the second step is actually to build a process boundary. Okay, so you have identified your goal already. Now you know this is your input and this is your final output. So then once you know the endpoints, then you can actually kind of work around building a process around how can you achieve it. So it's very important to set down and help every department to visualize the resources which they have available at their disposal as inputs, and show them the final requirement expected as output from them. So they know very well what is the expectation from their end as the outcome, and what is it that they have with them in order to produce that outcome. And then they can actually brainstorm and draft out the process around the same. And this brings me to the next part, that is when you are brainstorming around the process around the same. So say for example, as I said, that you have been already knowing what is your first step and what is your last step. Now what you can do is, in which field are you into, and you can actually look into who is the best in that specific field, and you can understand that what are the steps which they undertake in order to actually achieve their goal. And okay, list out those steps, brainstorm with your team, and once you have just listed out those steps randomly, try to sequence them out. Okay, so you specify the order in which those specific steps need to be taken. All right, and then once you have actually sequenced the steps, next is that you will try to assign manpower around the same. So what you will be doing around the same is assigning manpower, and for this what will be important is that you need to understand that if suppose you are an FMCG organization, then what are the steps to launch a new product. Okay, list them out. All right, and align a digital marketing person, a campaign specialist, a distribution and advertising person, as well as a plan. Choose the retailers to whom you can actually make the product reach. Okay, so you identify the roles, you set the responsibilities for the task, you make a flow chart, okay, showcasing the sequence in which each of these roles will actually be performing their responsibilities. All right, so it's only then that actually you will be understanding that finally after you have listed out these activities. So Apologies for the not so good quality of this slide. I think I made it in a hurry, so I'll just quickly run you through this. As I said, that once you have established the sequence of steps, what you will do is you will understand and identify who will be the people involved in this particular process. Okay, and then you can actually sequence them out. So suppose I am responsible for making a good software. Okay, so first I'll list out that okay, there needs to be a developer, there needs to be a project manager, there needs to be a product manager, there needs to be a marketing and sales person as well in place to get the specific project. So I can actually then these are the process roles, and then I can sequence them, and then I can actually make a flow chart around this, that what will be the sequence in which they will be executing their tasks. Finally, once everything is done, I can actually have an integrated review amongst them as well. Okay, for and then in order to understand that amongst all the responsible roles, after an integrated review and after following this particular process for one or two trials, we can understand in a standard that can we actually put this process as a standard one in a document. All right, so ये वाला भी example मैं आपको बताती हूँ that suppose I think in an organization perspective, I have already told you, let's come to just how the roadside vendors are able to follow this, or some your local dhabas are doing it. So they firstly identify that okay, there will be 3-4 people who will be responsible for making something as a cook. Okay, and then I kind of sequence them out. So say one person is responsible for making the pizza base, the other person, so mind you, this is this is not your Domino's, this is just some local pizza making shop. So one person will be responsible to make the pizza base, one person the other vegetables, and someone will be responsible to making for making the toppings, and someone to be arranging them in order. So all of them will actually be sequenced one after the other as per the requirement, and then this entire thing will just start operating in like an assembly line. Okay, just the way it happens in case of car manufacturing companies. All right, so this was roughly about the steps which are needed in order to set up a process. Now, what kind of challenges do you think can we face while setting up processes, and how can we mitigate those? Okay, so this is often a debate that in MNCs a lot of approvals are needed for the smallest of the tasks to be done, and due to this, operational tasks are often too stressful and too time consuming. Okay, and in small and mid-sized companies, the issue is often not there, as people actually sit on the same floor at one location, and they can quickly connect and get things done very easily. Okay, so what is the solution? Okay, solution is that this does not mean that you should just do away with the system of with the system and processes. Just try to have an alternative, okay, for urgent situations. For example, you have a set of processes to be followed in order to get an invoice made, but there might be a case where a customer might want an invoice to be made very urgently, and it has to be shared very urgently, and it's a very key customer for you. So then you just cannot keep sitting with your process in this case. So what is important is that yes, you should have a process around it, but there in this case you might need an alternative steps in place, so that you can prepare an ad hoc one soon. So organizations need to have that kind of flexibility, kind of alternate processes in place, where maybe through some special approvals from few key people, get things made in a very short span of time and on an urgent notice if required. Okay, so coming to the next point, if delayed decision making. All right, so I have worked in an MNC, working in a mid-sized company. So I have experienced the culture and the issues at both the companies. Now, both the kind of companies, I would say. Okay, so I have also experienced, that if there are too many levels that are created, all right, and too many approvals involved, this happens very often in MNCs specifically. So, what happens is that this kind of delays operations. The other thing is that often many decisions are relying on just one person, and that also, yeah, that person may be a key decision maker, but then many of the day-to-day operational decisions are also relying with him. So we often need to kind of approach to that very same person repeatedly to get that decision approved. Now this brings in delays. Okay, uh, don't take everything on your head. Delegate. Okay, empower your team. Create leaders who can take day-to-day decisions. Initially they will kind of consult you to make the decisions, but later on they will do it themselves. Okay, they will not consume your bandwidth, and you can focus on more growth oriented tasks and planning. So that is what should be the aim. All right. Now another situation is that when something might actually go wrong. Okay, employees start making each other a scapegoat, and they kind of start shifting the blame. So let us avoid this with clearly defined documents which specify the exact expectations and responsibilities. अगर कहीं पर भी कोई कस्टमर लॉस्ट हुआ या कस्टमर ने कंप्लेन किया, वी कीप सेइंग अरे उसकी गलती थी, रमेश ने कोड गलत लिखा, या फिर आरुष ने ठीक टाइम पे टेस्ट नहीं किया, या whatever. ओके, या फिर हमें बताया नहीं गया था, अकाउंट मैनेजर की गलती थी, प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर की गलती थी. There can be these kind of issues involved. So it's very important to clearly document out and also explain to the individuals that what are actually the things which they are actually responsible for. Now when too many teams are involved in a certain process, okay, what happens is that you often tend to work in silos. All right. So what is important is that you definitely have specific skill set, and it's good to have specialized people for that skill set, but then this should not lead to teams working in silos. So have a process or regular meetings for them so that this can be resolved, or else ensure that you have a specific account manager kind of a person who can facilitate the coordination between these kind of diverse teams. Okay. Now having said it all, okay, many a times, as I said, when it comes to documenting the processes, we do it. Okay, we promise the moon, but do we actually
हाँ,
execute it is the point. Okay,
हाँ,
so let us set
बोलो नीतू।
to set some
भाई,
core KPIs, okay, and some clear performance indices to understand that what is it that we wish to achieve by setting a process. All right, and are we able to see any kind of improvement in those KPI values over time once we start implementing those processes. So since I have been taking the example of invoicing, I'll just take that example again, that suppose this is a repetitive task. It used to be done, it has to be done every month, and not one person can sit and do this for everyone and all the accounts. So there are varied people involved in it. So in this case it will be good to have a process around it. Now once I establish the process around it, what is the metric that I can measure to see if the process is actually being implemented, and is it being followed, and what was my aim around having a process around this. So I will see a reduced number of incorrect invoices. I will not see any delays in the timing when the invoices need to be sent. Okay, so these are examples of few metrics which I think you can actually measure when you are trying to kind of achieve a certain task through a certain process, and you want to see whether your process has actually resulted in an improvement or not. Okay. Coming to the next part, all right. So you need to have a certain set of roles and responsibilities involved. When you are setting up a process. Once you've set up the process, who is responsible for what part of the process is important. So I'll take two examples. One of your local tikki chaat wala. Okay, suppose he is responsible. For these set of people are responsible for just making your tikki chart. Okay, then there will be one person. So these are the people who are actually making it, and they are called the people who are responsible for it. Now next comes the person who is accountable. So who is accountable? Now say supposing your various employees who are making your tiki chart have not been able to give timely deliver some your tiki chart in a timely fashion, and the reason was due to material shortage at the shop. Okay, so who is responsible for this? They are not responsible. They are responsible for making it and raising a concern when they cannot make it. So there is an accountable person for the same. Now once the accountable person has is there, and suppose now let's encounter a different kind of a problem. Suppose that for since the last season maybe your chart is not selling very well. So there might be various reasons for that, but then over here neither the person who was making it on a day to day basis can actually suggest anything, nor the person who was accountable for all these people might be able to say something. For this you might be wanting to connect with an external consultant. So here he will be trying to study the market. He will be an expert in this particular field, and he will actually come up with few suggestions around as per his experience, and he will ask you few questions, and he will check the quality of your tiki chart and all of that, and then accordingly he will come up with a solution. Now so we see that in this entire process there were three different roles already involved, depending on what kind of problems we encountered. So these response, not one person can be responsible for all of it. There are different people who are responsible for different things. And finally, we have someone who will be informed about it all. Okay. So say Shamlal is the owner of the tiki shop. So he all these people have been interacting and trying to resolve the issues which they are encountering, but all the time this person Shamlal has to be informed about all of it. So as we can see, for any process these four roles are often very important: someone who is responsible, someone who is accountable, someone who can consult you if required, and someone who is always informed. Okay, I'll take another example. Suppose in the case of a hotel room, all right. Say someone is responsible for cleaning the room every day, so he is the person responsible. Now there can be a floor manager assigned, so he is not responsible for cleaning, but then if there is an issue we call him up, so he is accountable. Okay, now if there is something which needs a specific skill to be changed in a hotel room, so in that case we will have to connect with a super specialist who will have to be consulted for the same. And finally there will be someone who is all the time informed about this entire thing, and that person is possibly the heading that specific branch of the hotel. All right. So I'll take another exam. So this brings me to Raj matrix, which I actually wanted to talk about. Okay, so in when you are defining a process, you obviously have to define the kind of skill sets and the people who will be involved in executing the process. So it's very important to clarify and clearly demarcate that what are the things which they will be responsible for, and who will be responsible for which particular task. So in that case, this is where we actually use the RACI matrix to actually clearly define the specific the specific tasks for the various roles. And over here, R stands for responsible, A for accountable, C for consulted, and I for informed. All right. So suppose the task is to provide a testimony. Okay, so an expert witness over here will be able to provide the testimony. He will be the one who is responsible over here. Okay, a case manager can be accountable, a consultant can be accountable. All right, so A stands, so R stands for responsible, A for accountable, I for informed. So this is the kind of matrix we prepare against the various steps which are involved in executing a task, and the various roles we assign a specific role for all the players who are involved in this. Okay, so I think many of you might be from IT background, so I'll give you a quick context in the IT background as well. So say the people who are developers and coders in an IT company, okay, they are responsible for building an application. Now a project manager and account manager are actually accountable. Okay, because if the developers are not able to develop things on time, then the customer will not question 10 developers. He will just question that one project manager and that one account manager who are accountable. Okay, so the next is that if there is a technical blocker that you face, okay, due to some reason, maybe in the deployment environment or something, so then a technology SME will be connected for the same. All right, if it's something regarding getting things deployed, maybe the DevOps person will have to be connected. So he is the consultant here. Okay, he will act as play the role of a consultant here. Okay, and as we are involved in this entire cycle of developing an application or executing a project, the product owner or as well as the business unit head under whom the project run has to be informed about all these major happenings of the project. All right. Now, there are a few more details under this, but I think if required, we can get into this. But it's not very important. Just a few steps of caution that, one stakeholder should not be involved in multiple activities, and, we does each stakeholder totally get into reading RACI metrics from your end? And
Arpita, 1 second. Can you just skip back 5 seconds because my internet connection was bad. For some reason, I skipped 5 seconds. Yeah.
okay, no issues. So I was actually sorry, 5 seconds. Did
Yeah.
you say?
5, 10 seconds. Yes.
Okay, so I was actually explaining that we can get into few more details of the RACI matrix, like few concerns while we are visualize when we see a RACI matrix which has been prepared. So are there too many R's over here? Okay, so then that will mean that one stakeholder is responsible for too many activities, and that's not the proper way of assigning tasks in that case. Okay, the second thing is does the stakeholder need to if there are no empty cells at all for a certain stakeholder, so then does the stakeholder really need to be involved in so many activities? All right, can the roles be changed for that person somewhere? All right, and then does each stakeholder totally agree with the role that they are specified to play, okay, in this particular version of the model? And when all these agreements are achieved, then we can say that yes, our RACI metrics is good to go. Okay, so yeah, I can give you more details on this, but I think we can reserve it for another session since we might be running short on time. So this is just one aspect which you can follow. It's also an extension of the RACI matrix, that you should follow the I do, you do, I do, we do, you do model. It's kind of common sense, but then often not followed. You can just, delegate, as I said. So first, you do something and show show it to your subordinate, okay? Then you do it along with your subordinate and you watch him as well. And then you just ask your subordinate to do that task and you watch him, and gradually he becomes independent and you can actually work on some other task, okay? Fine, I think that was about RASI metrics, and I will quickly take you through how to bring a system driven business, okay? How can you have a system driven business in place? Uh, so, yeah, these are actually the steps uh, through which you can have a system driven business at your disposal. Okay, so I'll quickly take you through each of them. So first is that, you know, whatever is the size of your organization, you need an organization structure. Okay, if you lack a finance and HR department, or if you're alone, how to make that structure? Okay, so now when making that structure, don't just consider your current situation. Okay, consider the future goal of the company, the future vision. If you don't have a finance and marketing department right now, then don't make your structure according to that. Just make your structure according to what you want to have as part of your team. Okay, start defining the role, the people. After that, once you've defined this structure, you can actually delve into the clarity of the roles. That is, now you need to understand what are the roles you need in your organization. You start defining them, okay, and who will be responsible for which of the roles. All right, and what will be the performance metrics? Okay, just give me a second. Yeah, and how and then you also need to define how are you going to measure the performance against that role, as I had already mentioned to you. And this okay, so I'll just kind of glance through these slides, because they are kind of something you may feel are too much for you, but then it will be good to have an idea of the same. SOP, I think I have talked about it a lot already. Now, measurement metrics. So, as I said, team members need to be clear on what will be the tasks and the basis on which their performance has to be measured. Okay, and there are two major categories of measurement metrics: the efforts and the results. So, suppose you are a developer, how many product demos were you able to give, how many trainings were you able to complete, all right, how many tasks were you able to complete. These should be one set of metrics on which you will be judged, and the second is the results, that how many customer feedbacks were you able to get. If you were performing well, you would have definitely received some good testimonials, and you would have got a chance to upsell and cross sell more services of your company. So were you able to do that? Okay, so these are a few others which actually can be considered. All right. The third thing. Okay, these are few other steps, and I think the explanation in short has been given here, and it's kind of self-explanatory. So there should be a quality check system, and you need to create leaders in your team over here to ensure next step. Now, monthly review meetings, as I already said, it's good to have things on paper, but in order to get them executed, it's important that you also check if those are being implemented. So I have my processes on paper, but are they being followed? Are they bringing in the impact that I want to see? So I need to keep doing my meetings on a monthly basis or a weekly basis or a fortnightly basis, my team members, to understand that whether my processes have brought the desired effect. Okay, appreciation and rewards, as I would say, that if you give it, it's good, because people will once rewarded for something, will be encouraged to kind of repeat that time and again. All right, and obviously a performance improvement program should be in place. If someone is underperformed as per what was expected, or what were the parameters set against them, then they would definitely should be actually made to understand that what is it that was lacking in them, how can they actually improve, all right, and they can then take steps accordingly to improve themselves as well. And you as an owner, you need to define the system and the environment, okay, and you need to give your team a structure which they can follow. So identify if there is something that I need to upgrade, or the technology has become outdated, so you need a performance improvement plan, or is there a way that you can improve the process and update the team using the system, all right. So these are a few kind of things, and my team should know the situations which I'm encountering, and they should be able to handle the same as well, okay. So I know I've kind of rushed through this, so it's because also because I have an important call at 8:30. So but anyways, we are already in the last section, and you guys can always reach out to understand this in details. Okay. So, as we had already talked about, okay, business in autopilot mode. So, do you mind imagining this once again? I will keep showing this to you till you have conviction that this is possible, and I
Yeah,
make you.
surely now looks lot easier after your conversation.
Okay. So actually, what do I mean when I say autopilot? Okay, the flight which moves and the pilot is maybe sitting inside and sipping coffee. All right. So, uh, do you think, that these are the steps, for business process automation? Now, this is the step that you should work the least on, okay, doing, because trust me, hard work is not the key, it's smart work which is the key. Okay, so you need to kind of plan and get the other people do the doing, and you should be involved in monitoring, controlling, and thinking out the strategies, all right, and further growth. So do you think Ratan Tata goes and sells Voltas ACs and Nexus cars? No, he cannot, okay. Does he go and sell Tanish jewelry by himself? No. So he has created a team who is doing it for him, and these businesses are all self-driven. All right. Now these are few roles, as you can see, and they are, I would say, these people are entrepreneurs, or rather I would say they are self-employed. If they are jitna kaam karenge utna hi paisa kamayenge, okay, usse zyada nahi. So entrepreneurs working till late are also, I would say, working for their employees and customers and suppliers. So why do they have to work so late? They are stuck in the operational activities, and they should have a process in place to make these things get delegated and run in the autopilot mode, all right. So you can see few examples, okay. So uh, as we see, what happens when you are stuck in daily operational goals, okay, jab घूमोगे गोल गोल छूट जाएगा बड़ा goal, okay. So you will be deviated from your main goal. And even Ritesh Agarwal says that, मैं हर समय ऐसा आदमी ढूंढता हूँ जो अपनी कंपनी में, मेरी कंपनी में ज्वाइन करके मेरा काम कर ले, ताकि भाई मैं कोई और काम कर लूं. Okay, so you get the point, right? Now, what is it that is very important in order to get your system in the autopilot mode? Okay, the other thing, apart from SOP, is that, you definitely need to build MIS report system and report structure in your company. Okay, bring every department to MIS, and it's called Management Information System, and it's a reporting structure, okay, in which team will report to you every day. And it will need a reporting structure, it will need a few frameworks, few files, few strategies, and few processes. But if you want to branch out, reduce the doing part, then you need to review people, and you need to make MIS formats, and this will help things get into the autopilot mode. So as I said, from this to this, you have to reduce this step, and you need to focus more on this, and that is how you can actually focus on the bigger tasks. Okay, so I'll wrap up this session with a few key takeaways. And the key takeaway again is this: yes, I am obsessed with this pick, and I am making you guys obsessed as well. So yes, as I said, smart work wins, but then hard work does not. And yes, to live this life you first have to actually either be in a venture of your own, or maybe in a key position in an organization. And the second one is to move your venture to a process driven one from your personality driven one. Okay. And follow the ready-made framework for the same which I have given. Define the roles and responsibilities, build SOPs, follow the steps, aim to bring every department in autopilot mode, and do not restrict a limited few, restrict the decision making parts to a limited few. Okay. And avoid getting into the operational aspects of a specific everyday life. Okay. And on this note, obviously I would like to leave you with a food for thought. Okay. Something which I would want you guys to think, that once a part of this XRDI community, I don't know how much you have already conversed with Avi, but which aspect of the existing processes, do you want to ask Avi about? While because he is already into this domain and has his own venture over here, and I think you can brainstorm with him and understand, and you can suggest any performance related improvements also if you have them in mind. Okay. Because as I said that together we plan and strategize, and together we grow as a community of learners. So yeah, this is where I kind of end my presentation.
Thank you, Arpita.
Just once again, let me just grab my mic out. Cool. So this was a pretty amazing session, and I know we have just 3 minutes or less because you have next call aligned. So I'm just going to quickly wrap up this session by saying that whoever missed this session is going to miss a lot because it was so freaking informative and we learned so much more. It just blown my mind in several ways. I'm just going to tell you what were my favorite part. Like you mentioned why we need it, because yes, we need SOPs in every business. We need SOPs. Even the Babulal Chaiwala has some sort of SOP in their business. He has to come up and wash the bartan every day, set up the thela every day. So some sort of SOP is already involved in every kind of business, no matter you know about it or not. There are something, but there. And also what I want to end with is no matter how hard you work on these process building, nothing is perfect. You are never going to end up creating that, okay, this is the final way of organizing my company, organizing my processes, and now this is the end and it's going to work forever. So it's never possible. So you also mentioned that keep reviewing the processes, you keep reviewing, keep analyzing them, keep reviewing them, do quality analysis and all those things, integrated reviews. So yeah, amazing. I think it's totally worth, the session was totally amazing and I loved it.
Okay, I actually wanted to cite, few real-time examples from my experience, but I'm really running short on time. But so definitely I'll do that some other day. Maybe the audience would have kind of been able to understand things better if I would have given some real-time examples around the same. But yeah, I hope there was some takeaway for all of you. At whatever position you are, even if you are beginners, right now I think it will you can always give your ideas to your seniors, you can always wear your innovative hats, I think. And once you're part of XRDI community, you definitely should, I think so, because your leader is someone who specializes at it. And yeah, I think you can actually go back and reflect, and the next time you visit a Starbucks or a CCD, also start thinking about the process which is involved. You can anyway go to your even local vendors and kind of give them your ideas. So it's just like charity begins at home, it's like innovation and entrepreneurship is there are chances of entrepreneurship all around you, and you can also start off.
Arpita, you have given me a life lesson today that don't just work for your dreams, also work for your vacations. So now I'm going to also plan for my vacations, work for that. And with that, let's end our session because you are running out of time, and have a great night. And yeah, we are going to do several stuff together soon.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I
Thank you,
would
ma'am.
love
Thank you. So,
to have a
Thank you
Q&A
very much for the wonderful session. Thank you.
all of you, but I'm really running short on time, and otherwise, I would have definitely, tried to understand what are your thoughts and what do you think and what's your opinion on after hearing the same and any sort of questions as well. But really sorry for not being able to take them up. You can post it to the group, or you can post it with Avi. Avi can also share my email ID, and you can post it to me over an email, and I will definitely answer to those.
Surely, Arpita, with that, have a great time. And yeah, we are really thankful and delighted that you took this session for us. And we learned a ton of stuff today. Thank you so